Welcome again, everybody, to an awesome presentation coming up for BigBlueButtonWorld 2024. This one is going to be of particular interest for anybody who's interested in BigBlueButton's architecture and how we are evolving it and scaling it. And none of these are easy problems to solve. So they usually take a lot of persistence, dedication, and just focus. And that is what Tainan has been doing for the last probably year now on this. So I want to introduce you to Tainan Felipe, who works at IMDT. He's one of the architects of the client and now probably the client and server communication, and he'll share with what he's been doing over the last couple of months to refactor BigBlueButton to use GraphQL and the benefits that we're looking to get from that. Tainan, I give the microphone over to you.
Thank you, Fred. Well, I'm Tainan. I'm working on BigBlueButton almost 8 years. You guys came here to listening about the progress on the refactoring the BigBlueButton. So let's start. I would like to start talking. 80 years, not 80. I would like to start taking a look on our past technology, or that one that's running on 2.7, the Meteor JS. It was a great tool for start the HTML5 client because it was have an incredible set of tools for like provide live data through the Mongo courses, making easy to make the providers. Also, Meteor take the responsibility by the bundle of the project that had been handy on the releases and the dev environment. Also, have the agnostic reactive state handler. That's the mini Mongo. That is pretty useful because it's we can use it in React, in JS, on Angular, make it easier to integrate a lot of libraries on the project. And also the Meteor calls that was used for all the handlers of the user interactions like mute and etc. But it became with a price that in the long run was affecting us. The main issue with the using Meteor was the scalability, because Meteor was not able to make our few processes we would like to, like duplicate the queries or make batches on the requests. Every user was opening a new connection on a new query for Mongo, making it overrun the server on the resources. Also, it affected the client side, loading it with a lot of data because it was basically syncing all data from the MongoDB to the client side. So one of the big limitations on we increasing the amount of users running a meeting was not basically the server, increasing the server resources, more users could join. It's not that. Was the client like starting every user in the meetings. If a meeting have like 100 users with 100 registers of users, or if 1,000, so it's not scaling very well. Also, we had no control on the bundle, making a few issues when we are working with async parts, because it was creating a new bundle every new connection was being opened to the client side. Also, a limited database support for like we could only use MongoDB. We could not use another DB to make it scale a bit well. And not so easy integrations for like we had idea for plugins a lot of time, and was not that easy integrate with the Meteor. Well, what will choose next? Now, I think the title of the presentation spoiled it, but we decided that would be the GraphQL, because GraphQL was a really good protocol. It's a standard protocol, so we have plenty of libraries that implement the same protocol, that make for us easy to integrate the stuff, so we could have the plugins and a really easy way to implement just using the same GraphQL. You could communicate between the client and the plugin. It also very tools of the GraphQL have one thing that we wanted, that is the query duplication, because on Meteor every user was making a new query, and with this new approach using the GraphQL part, it was making a query used by all users consuming the same query. Like we have 1,000 users looking for the meeting query. All these 1,000 users will be just on one request on the server. That makes incredible for performance, because we use a lot less resources. Make also easy to data control it, because on GraphQL we can just request the data we want. Make us be very specific with data, not more generalist like with using Meteor, that we get all the user data. Now I just need the emojis or audio. I can just get small pieces of data, or if it's better for performance, I could just concatenate them on one query and make using both places. And also it's a market standard, so more people would contribute for BigBlueButton, develop plugins, and be more understandable. And well, now we arrive here 1 year later. It's not a bit more. It's like a year, 3 months, but we have had a lot of work on migrating the BigBlueButton to the new technology. On our milestones on that point on BigBlueButton is that we have no more use of Meteor on the client side. We don't use nothing from Meteor. The minimum part or trackers or everything. The client is Meteor free now. And also we are not more using the MongoDB and server-side part of Meteor that was really crucial before, because all the actions was going through Meteor, and now we do not make it anymore. We were able to migrate 25% of our source code to TypeScript, and that's pretty good. We decided because GraphQL it's strong typed protocol, so we thought and we were right that TypeScript help us a lot on make the types for the responses and the queries, making the developer experience a lot easy. Also, all actions are going through GraphQL mutations, no more Meteor calls, no more nothing. The client having the dynamic data usage. Before in the Meteor, we are always requesting everything. We are basically syncing the server on the client side. That was making the client side use a lot of resources. But now we just request data on demand. If, for example, we close the chat or close user list, this data are not being requested for the server. That make our client a bit more modularized, so we can in future think in a ways that have a client with small feature, with less features, just showing audio or video or showing just a presentation. That's a possibility now. Before, if we did that, we just broke the client. One thing I did not note there, but is really good, is all the components are being isolated now. before all the components was being hard dependence of the others, so it was really painful to remove anything. Really painful to disable a component from the client. Now it's pretty easy. And also the client's reliable with huge meetings, because with the dynamic data, we do not have our users being loaded on the client side, so we can have increase the meeting size. It will take my resources on server side, but on the client side, it will not be a problem anymore. But well, we still have a few challenges on the client side to improve. One point of work is the make all actions going through Redis, Akka database. Currently, we have two splitted routes for actions. One that goes through Redis. Another one that goes to Azure that directly changes on database. That we think it's a real problem, because if anyone are eagerly trying to implement a new action, could make it in the worst way and change the database, makes Akka do not know that the state changed. So it's a really problem. We have a point that we are looking, it's improve the queries performance. It's a point that we are doing now, because in the start we think it split the data was a good idea, but now we are seeing that merge a few queries in one big one query would be easier for the server side process it, not have to make thousands of requests for Postgres, but a small only one that make processes resources easy. Migrate the rest of the database for the TypeScript. That would make a lot easier for maintenance, because having typed no, it's really different for developers. Improve it. Also, make the bundle not depends on Meteor anymore. The bundle of the project is still on Meteor. We are working that now that we removed out the Meteor. But the idea is make the bundle using Webpack or another tool. And the last point is improve the connection status even more, because Meteor is a great tool. Has a lot of status and for connection, data receiving, etc., etc. And our connection status is really based on this. Now we have to implementing our versions, having our RRT calculators made in the project, not more using the Meteor one. And I think that's it, the point of the migration. We still want to improve a few things before the release, and I think to the release, all this challenge will be accomplished. And that's it from my end. Any questions? Let me share, I guess.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. Any questions for Tainan? This marries in with the presentation that Tiago did on the scalability of BigBlueButton. It is through the work of moving to GraphQL that we are looking to unlock more headroom in terms of scalability. I think Tainan, the previous architecture with Meteor and MongoDB, Meteor was only running in a single core. And so we ended up creating multiple Meteor front ends and back. Yeah, go ahead and speak more to it.
Yes, old architecture was bad because we are running on Node and it's only one core, and it was not scaling well because Meteor did not deduplicate often. So we are starting cluster it in multiple meteors, but each meteor we have like examples where 3 servers for Meteor, and it was increasing for 5 gigabytes each cluster, so it was not a good performing for huge meetings. And now we have only one part and 2 parts, the middleware and the Hasura, and both of them are great tools for scaling because they are multi-threading. That's not like Meteor was, and that's it. That's a really improvement for our architecture because multi-threading was helping have a better performance on the server side. Any more questions?
Nice. You made some comment about the reduction size of code. And I think you were also saying that as you went through and refactored the modules, you actually found bugs there that nobody else found.
Yes, that's a lot of bugs found on the client side. A few stuff that were really hide on the client, or a few stuff that was really tricky to solve on the client side. That we also made a thing on the refactor that was pass a few logics of rendering of the client side to the server side, because sometimes it was making a huge calculation to show a model, so have like 20 variables just to calculate if it should show a model or not, and that code does not exist anymore. We have I don't know, I did not estimate the number of lines that we removed, but the client's really simple now. The code is really simple. It's not more that complex, because before we were having to consume multiples collections to form a data. Like I want build the chat list with the chat message and user data. I have to to make a find for all the users and make a find for all the messages. So I have to make a map to compare the data and build a new object that was consuming a lot of data on the client side. If we sent like 200 messages, the client side was starting to have a hard process for every new message, because every new message was reprocessing all the lists. That was a lot of improvement on client side.
I have one question. I mean, since we have some time, so I thought I could ask this question. In the scalability, the Scaling New Heights presentation, Tiago said that on the client side, like it will be now easier to scale because the client will be lightweight now from 3.0 compared to the previous versions. He gave an example of let's say a new user joins, so the server sends like an information or request to the client informing that yeah, a new user just joined. So this will be eliminated in case in which the client doesn't have the users list open. So I'm sure that this just one change will not change the scalability or will not change the client performance drastically. So do you have other such examples that are implemented to improve the client?
Of course, of course. The user list is not more handling all the users. The user list is not paginated, and we just request what users are being seen in the list. Like now we have only 24. It's not a good example, but we have like 100 users and your user list is showing the top of the user list, only these first pages with 50 users will be loaded. If any new user join and it being the end of the list, the query will not update and new data will not be sent for the client. Another example is the chat that I have talked. Because before we are syncing all the chat messages on the client side. Now we just paginate it in 2 pages of 50 each one. And if you want to see previous message of that, we have to load it manually. We have a button for it. So we does not observe more the entire state of the meeting. We just observe a few parts of the meeting that are the data that's being shown for the client side. You got it, or you need a better example?
No, I got it. Thank you so much. So one follow-up question: does it mean that this code refactoring and like a few examples that you just provided, that will help more when the number of users are over, like say 50, 60 or 100, but it would not make a huge impact if a meeting is relatively small, let's say less than 30 users? Is it fair to say that?
Yes, we made it for scale for huge meetings. The small meetings, you have the same process that before. We made it possible that you could load like 1,000 users if you had a server that have this amount of resources. A small server would not be able to run that, but if you make a really huge server like 32 cores and a lot of run, you could make it possible. But the client would not be affected anymore for the amount of users on the meeting. Before it was being affected by it. If every more user, more the meeting grow, more the client grows on consuming resources. It's not for a reality. We just load a small portion of the user that being shown. For a meeting like this one, it's be the same like before. Use a small amount of resources, but it scale really well for huge meetings.
Great. Thank you so much for answering my questions.
You're welcome.
All right.
Any more questions?
Yeah.
We are running out of time.
That's all right. Tainan, thank you again for sharing the work that's been done to refactor and optimize and scale BigBlueButton. It is a foundational amount of work in the project, and everyone who's using 3.0 will benefit from your work. So thanks again.